It is the dawning of a whole new era in the world of pro wrestling and sports entertainment, as TKO Holding Groups is now a thing. It has officially hit the market. It has now gone public, and it is now under the WWE is now under the control of a separate company. For the first time ever in the history of pro wrestling, the McMahon family is not the boss, is not the be-all, end-all. They're not the say-so in the WWE. For more on the New York Stock Exchange part of this, let's check out the New York Stock Exchange YouTube channel. We got a clip from them talking about this company going public, and then we got a couple other clips for you, and we're definitely going to dive into what this means for the future of the WWE, UFC, all of it. Let's go ahead and check this out.
And we are ready to celebrate the partnership between Endeavor Group Holdings, ticker symbol EDR, and World Wrestling Entertainment, also known as the WWE, which is also its ticker symbol. Today, together, these powerhouse companies are forming TKO Group Holdings Incorporated, and today it will officially begin trading under the ticker symbol TKO. Today marks the start of the long-standing relationship with the NYSE community of over 2,400 listed companies. And just to give you a little recap, Endeavor is a spin-off company formed by the UFC and WWE, merging with Ari Emanuel as CEO. Endeavor holds 51% stake in TKO Group Holdings, with WWE's shareholders having about 49% stake. And to honor the occasion, one medallion and FTB gavel was gifted to Ariel Manuel, who is the CEO, along with the listing certificate a little earlier this morning. Now, the merger will mark the first time that the WWE has not been majority controlled by the McMahon family, which was founded by the company and owned it for 70 years. Vince McMahon will serve as executive chairman of the new entity, with Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel becoming the new company's CEO, and Mark Shapiro serving as president and chief operating officer. Now, Emanuel will take on any creative roles in the WWE or the UFC, with Nick Khan becoming president of WWE post-merger and Dana White remaining in his role as president of the UFC.
Surreal is a word that gets thrown around pretty frivolously. Frivolously, also a word that gets thrown around frivolously, but surreal is the word to describe this. Dana White up there with Vince McMahon and the New York Stock Exchange, and Triple H and Nick Khan and fucking, was it Daniel Cormier? Was he there too? Ari Emanuel and the other fuck that he's there with. This was weird. It was weird. It was like a whole parallel universe. Suddenly now UFC and the WWE are fucking together. They're all one big company. And Vince McMahon is not the boss. He's kind of the boss, though. He is the chairman of the board. So Vince can still call himself the chairman. He's always been the chairman. That's his job. And look, he's got a lot of history being a chairman. So if Ari Emanuel is not going to be the chairman of the board of TKO, Vince McMahon is certainly the right guy for that job. But that technically puts him above Dana White, because Dana White is the CEO and the president or whatever the fuck of UFC. And fucking Nick Khan is the president of the WWE. And then you have Vince McMahon above them both, and then Ari Emanuel above them both as TKO, which is a spin-off company from Endeavor. Now Endeavor was the company that bought this, but what they did was they have ownership stake in TKO, and then they have gone public with the rest of TKO. So they've spun this company off out of Endeavor as its own separate entity. So Endeavor, a parent company, I guess, but not technically. They're just the #1 stakeholder. Now TKO is its separate. It gets confusing. But Vince McMahon is the boss man of Dana White, which is hilarious. And speaking of Dana White was asked about this, and this has made its rounds recently as well. Rather laughably, he was asked about the comment that one of his higher-ups, I believe, or somebody he works with closely, the chief marketing officer or content officer or some shit like that for the UFC, wants to have UFC fans and WWE fans be 100% all crossover fans of each. And of course, Dana White, never shy with his words, had a good laugh at this. Check out this clip.
Dana, I just got one. If we can get your thoughts on it. Epstein, Lawrence said something to ESPN today. He said, where we want to get is where every UFC fan is a WWE fan and every WWE fan is a UFC fan. Do you see similarities in the fan base, and how achievable is that goal?
Lawrence, I love you. One of the dumbest statements of all time. Yeah, I don't know why he said that. I don't even know what to say to that. No. There's some crossover. Some people like WWE, some people like UFC, some people like both. I don't think there's ever going to be a day where we turn every UFC fan into a WWE fan or every WWE fan. What's beautiful about the synergy between these two fan bases is they are very completely opposite. You know, there's very little crossover. And again, maybe he was misquoted. I hope that's the case, because I could not disagree with him more.
That clip from the Mac Life YouTube channel. I am not familiar with that, but apparently they do interviews or show clips or whatever. They do UFC shit, right? I've seen other UFC interviews and stuff on there. But Dana White, look, this is fun. And this is something I was thinking about too, because UFC, the way Dana runs UFC, he's out front in these press conferences. He'll say a fight sucked. He'll say something is bullshit. He'll push back. He is outspoken. He's crass. He's brash. He's Trump-esque in his delivery, where he doesn't care about your feelings. He doesn't care about what people think. He's just going to say what's on his mind. Now, compare that to the extremely fucking polished, corporate, speak everything, reserved WWE. I wonder if that is something that will end up changing. Dana White was asked more in depth about this too. Some man on the street interviewer, another guy I don't know of. But this clip comes from Adam's Apple. It's a YouTube channel, I guess. But he asked Dana White, just walked up to him on the street and asked him more about the synergies of the WWE and the UFC. Check out this clip.
This relationship's going to be interesting.
What does this mean for the UFC? How is it going to change things? Are the viewers going to be seeing anything different? What's going to happen?
Yeah, it doesn't change anything. I'm going to still do what I do. They're going to do what they do, and Ari's going to do what he does, and I'm sure it's going to work out just fine.
Do you still have final say, or have the majority say?
Yeah, I'm the CEO of the UFC now. So Ari has stepped down, and Ari is the CEO of TKO, and I still control everything.
Do you report to Ari? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
And these guys are going to do what they do, and we're going to kick a bunch of ass just like we always do.
So are you going to work alongside WWE? Are you going to be promoting WWE shows on UFC?
Well, our teams are going to, our teams are going to work together. Basically, what Ari brings to the table for the WWE is he'll, more sponsorship, licensing, new television contracts, and the synergies between us and WWE. There's some stuff with production that we can do to save costs for them and make this thing incredibly successful.
Will you see any crossover between UFC stars going to WWE or UFC?
Well, we have. I mean, we have in the past. Not
well,
unless
even more.
Unless it fits, or they, like Ronda Rousey. She always wanted to wrestle in the WWE, so she did. She was good enough to do it. Brock Lesnar wanted to fight in the UFC. He did because he was good enough to do it. Those will be the scenarios.
So is this a good thing for UFC fighters, where now they have the easier transition, where they have that escape? They want to leave UFC.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and they probably get great tickets to the WWE. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
So how is this going to affect the WWE? What kind of changes are going to be happening to the WWE? Well, for one, we know Vince McMahon is back in charge. This was confirmed by Dave Meltzer over at the Wrestling Observer, who's talking about what's going on with this TKO thing over on the WWE side. Check out this clip.
Obviously, as everyone knows, tomorrow is the start of the new company. WWE will become part of TKO. They're going to be merging, and Vince McMahon is back. He made multiple changes to the show tonight. There were also multiple changes made by Levesque. But Vince is back from his surgery leave. He's back in the chair. He was not in Roanoke. He did this from, but he was, involved in the production of the show via remote.
Great.
Yeah. And, going forward, he's the guy, he's the chairman. And he's running the wrestling company. I know that there's the whole thing of he's second in command to Ari Emanuel, or tied for second in command. I think Mark Shapiro's at the same level. But when it comes to wrestling, Ari Emanuel is very willing to say, I don't know wrestling. He knows wrestling. So it's Vince's baby when it comes to the creative end. It's Vince's baby when it comes to decisions making on the company, and all that. Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan and Mark Shapiro are going to be the guys who are handling the TV negotiations. That they will do. And even then, Vince will have power to a degree over that. But that will be, that's a pretty heavy crew of people when you got Ari and Nick Khan together on these new round of negotiations.
So now with Vince being the executive chairman of the board of TKO, and he's meddling in the weeds of the WWE, making changes to the fucking script, what kind of changes is he going to make to the UFC? If I were, people are worried about what kind of changes are going to happen to the WWE, UFC needs to be worried about what kind of changes are going to be made to the UFC now that Vince is overseeing the whole fucking thing. Dana was asked, do you report to Ari? He said yes. But Vince McMahon is the chairman of the board. Now, Ari is Vince's boss. Ari is the CEO of TKO. So Ari is the top guy. But Vince sits underneath him and above Dana White and Nick Khan. So will Vince meddle in the UFC? I don't know. As far as the WWE, I don't expect to see much change at all. There wasn't much change to the UFC. I wonder, did the Reebok sponsorship thing come in where everybody had to get rid of their sponsorship patches and everything was uniformly sponsored by Reebok or whatever, and everybody had to wear, there was a fucking a uniform mandate or whatever in the UFC. I think that happened under the Endeavor purchase. But really, you see Dana White out there shit talking on every post show. Ari Emanuel doesn't come in and tell him who should fight who or anything like that. He lets Dana do Dana and run the UFC. As Dana said that they're when he was talking about the synergies and stuff, What Endeavor is really going to bring to the table for the WWE is more of the sponsorship deals, the marketing. They're going to try to do things where, because UFC is getting into bidding, cities bidding on them too now, which is something WWE's already been doing for WrestleManias and things like that. Now they've been trying to do all their pay-per-views at stadium shows. This is going to continue to where we're hearing now. I think it was Meltzer that had reported this, that it's going to be, they're going to try to sell the block where you get SmackDown Friday, UFC Saturday, WWE Sunday, whatever, Raw Monday. I don't know if they're doing that. Well, but you get the point. That kind of stuff is smart. They can combine sell for licensing and sponsorships and bidding on cities. It's all on the financial end. Endeavor really doesn't have in their great. They have good. They're a management business for their entertainment management for actors and stuff like that. So that can open up doors in Hollywood for some wrestlers. I just don't see. Ari Emanuel does not strike. He was the guy that insisted Vince come back, right? He wanted Vince in the chair. He doesn't want to go in and book the matches. He doesn't give a shit. Did The Rock coming back have anything to do with TKO saying, hey, can we get The Rock? Are they going to maybe do that kind of shit? Perhaps. But I can't see. Ari's not a micromanager. He doesn't seem like that. He looks at, hey, we can combine these properties and we can really he's big on that word, synergies. We can just use all of our tools to market both of these fucking juggernaut machines and reach a wider audience. As Dana said, he actually thinks that's the perk of this union, is that they do reach separate audiences and that they shouldn't be crossover. There is some, but not much, right? Especially on the UFC fan side. UFC fans do not like WWE at all. It's that fake, phony shit. And wrestling fans are like, I don't know, I'll watch the guys that are characters and personalities. The guys that are WWE-esque, like a Conor McGregor. He was always a WWE-esque kind of guy. People like that, even back in the day, Tito Ortiz. Dana tried the UFC, the WWE-esque. He used to have the fireworks, and he had the big Tron and the ramp. When Zuffa first bought the UFC, they made it look like WWE in the presentation. And it wasn't until later they kind of adapted more of a boxing, like a fight feel. But I wouldn't be surprised if Vince wanted to step in and make some decisions on the theatrics side, or make like a super show. Like, let's make the biggest card where all your top stars, the WrestleMania of UFC. UFC doesn't really have that. They just keep doing UFC. They have some big shows and some smaller shows. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, but I don't expect much change in the WWE. I expect changes on things like ad sponsorships. I expect them to possibly even loosen up on the excuse me. I expect them to possibly even loosen up on the PG type stuff, to allow more blood. UFC is a bloody sport. To allow more wild promos, more shit talking like the UFC has, or like Dana White himself does. They can make it more adult oriented, but then again, do you want to do that, or do you want to have the WWEs for the kiddies and the UFCs for the grown-ups? Who knows how they go about it, but those are the kind of changes I expect to see, but I certainly don't expect to see any involvement in the booking other than Vince McMahon's dirty, grubby paws. But what are your thoughts on this whole UFC? I mean, look, man, any way you want to slice it, this is surreal, as I started at the beginning of this. Surreal's the word. I have never lived a life. I've never been alive where the WWE was not run under the iron fist of Vince McMahon. And even before him, it was owned by his daddy. It's never belonged to a fucking corporate entity. It is now. It does now. He has sold off his baby. They could kick Vince McMahon out tomorrow if another scandal popped up, and he's gone and he's out. And WWE this is not a Vince McMahon product anymore. It is, as long as he's there. I would not expect to see any changes, but maybe, 20 years from now, the WWE could look completely different than it does right now. That's something that I might expect to see. But who knows? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. TKO officially a thing now. WWE owned by another company. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah, and you can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Oh yeah, dig it.